a great day to be in real estate. This is Duanebeisner, sales manager and sales representative for ERA Real Estate. For the quote of the day, the trouble with opportunity is that it's always more recognizable going than coming. And for the joke of the day, two strands of DNA were walking down the street. One says to the other, "Do these jeans make me look fat?" And for the business tip of the day, new sales scripts need to be tested in the marketplace before allowing your sales force to use them. Think about that. And for the Darwin Award of the day, this is about a moment of blissfully pure and unadulterated stupidity that happened while this guy was managing a successful franchise exhaust shop a few years back. He had won a contract to build some custom exhausts on a series of hot rods. And due to the workmanship required, he usually did those jobs after hours when he wasn't distracted by the customers or the staff. So he was tired and bored one evening. He took a break, swigged some soda, and set the Coke can down on the pipe rack, and it fell neatly into a length of exhaust pipe. This raised some intriguing possibilities. He wondered if a small acetylene explosion would launch a can from the pipe. So he proceeded with the experiment. He welded a plate over one end and bored a small hole on the side just above the plate. He dropped an empty can down the pipe and introduced some acetylene and oxygen through the hole. Test one went pretty good. He ignited the gas with his Zippo lighter, and there was a loud pop, but the can only went up a measly 10 feet in the air. So he knew he could do better. So test number two, he wrapped the can to fit the pipe. And the pop was louder, and the can launched upward with enough force to dent the tin roof of the building. At that point, he realized he could do some damage, so he moved his enterprise out to the backyard, or the back of the shop outside, and did test number three, where he carefully wrapped a full Coke can with a rag, oiled to reduce the friction. He rammed it down hard down the pipe, but he could only get it down about 1 foot. Then he aimed the tube straight up to maximize the altitude, filled the remaining 3 feet with oxygen and acetylene, and he confessed that briefly there was a brief flash of doubt, but he overcame it, knelt down a careful 18 inches from the pipe, and lit the mortar. Well, as you can imagine, the result was a little bit more violent than the prior launches. There was an extremely loud explosion. A searing flash of heat knocked him over. He caught a glimpse of a burning projectile disappearing at high velocity into the night sky. The recoil of the launch had driven the tube a foot into the ground, and the open end of the pipe sported a distinct bell shape. Luckily, the pipe had held and hadn't blown up in his face. He was stunned. He staggered back to the shop, knocked over a 6-foot length of exhaust pipe. Instead of hearing any crash, he heard nothing but a high-pitched buzzing. Anyway, he went back to work. Half an hour later, a couple of cops were tapping him on the shoulder, and they were agitated. They had been asking for him, addressing him for a while, and thought he was ignoring them. After much shouting and several written messages, it became apparent that they were investigating a loud explosion heard behind the 20,000-liter propane tank at the gas station next door. The tank was 10 feet away from the test site behind a wooden fence. The gas station had, of course, been evacuated, and due to his impaired hearing, he had failed to notice the 3 or the 4 fire engines outside, blissfully unaware of the mayhem going on next door. Of course, he denied any knowledge, but he was burnt, and the death state didn't help his case any. And then a curious cop followed the oxyacetylene hoses outside. The incident cost him a severe telling off by the cops and permanent hearing issues, but he counts himself lucky. Every once in a while, he wonders, what was I thinking? And where did that Coke can end up? For the social commentary, homeowner wins a right to park a truck in the driveway. It's hard to believe that A.J. Vizzi spent nearly $200,000 defending his right to park his own pickup truck in his driveway, but he did. He moved back in 1997, was told that parking his large truck in the driveway wasn't against the subdivision's rules, but years later the Eagles Masters Association, which governs the entire community, said it did violate their rules and therefore the truck had to go. It didn't end there. Knowing the truck did not fit in his garage, VZ decided to stand his ground. The Homeowners Association sued VZ, and for 2 exhausting years, the two parties battled in court. Okay, so basically, December 2008, VZ and his family got an early Christmas present. A judge ruled in their favor. It was finally over, they thought, but the Homeowner Association appealed the decision, and off to court they went once again. Finally, in March of this year, AJ won again, and the judge awarded him more than $187,000 in legal fees just this week. Wow. He said, I think what people should take away from this is that homeowners should be left alone unless it's a very serious issue. And certainly requiring a homeowner to spend over $200,000 to defend themselves simply to park a vehicle in the driveway doesn't make any sense at all. Really, you think? And despite the cash, it's VZ's parking his truck in his driveway that remains the biggest victory of all. I think that may be that I was just being bullied by this group, and maybe now they'll think twice. I guarantee they'll think twice, and everybody from that board will be removed for their stupidity. How many months and years of HOA fees is he going to have to pay all that back? Many lifetimes, you know. Anyway, his attorney said that the association will have incurred more than $300,000 in legal fees and costs after paying the VZs. Ah, wow. VZs regret the fact that the homeowners will end up paying the bill. That's true. The homeowners will end up paying it because that's where the money comes from, the association. Anyway, with that being said, now for the real estate news, landlords rejoice. Demographic and economic forces together with some of the government policies are combining to push the share of homeownership back to where it was in the early 1990s. We talked about that yesterday. Already in the wake of the housing bust that brought on the Great Recession, the share of U.S. households owning homes has slid from 69% at its peak in 2004 to 67.2% this year's first quarter, and the rate's likely to fall to the 1993 level of 64% by 2015. Flip side of the trend is that it's a rising rental rate, which probably will hit 36% by 2015 versus 32.8% in 2004. Every percentage point increase represents nearly 1.3 million households, and the average household includes more than 2 people, so roughly 10 million extra folks could be moving into rentals over the next 5 years. Why? From now through 2015, the onslaught that unfortunately characterized the economic expansion will bring slow growth in jobs and wages. That pace of improvement should be just strong enough to permit new households to form, but not robust enough for the members of those households to afford their own homes. In addition, lax lending standards, fraud, and predatory lending practices, key factors in the unrealistic bubble in the homeownership in the mid-2000s, and the subsequent debacle appear to have become rare, at least temporarily. Anyway, that's it for today. This is Duane signing off. Happy trails to you. As always, proud to be an American. Please follow me on Facebook. You can type in my name, Duanebeisner, and I'll be happy to follow you back. Thanks.